Hello and welcome. In our last lecture, we introduced the concept of management, and we provided an overview of strategic planning. We looked at mission, vision, and values in some detail. Today, we're going to look at goals and objectives, the second major component of the strategic plan. In a way, we're putting the cart before the horse because the strategic planning process usually involves using tools such as strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or SWOT as it's called, environmental scanning, balanced scorecard, and other methods to help determine what our goals and objectives should be. And we'll look at those tools in upcoming units. But at this point, it's important that we have a firm understanding of what strategic goals and objectives are to make the best use of the tools. So that's why we're looking at them now. First, let's talk about goals. Goals are targets, what you strive to accomplish. These are getting somewhat more specific than your mission statement, which is a little more visionary and unchanging over time. Strategic goals look at a narrower window, usually 3 to 5 years, and should be achievable. That is, you should be able to say at some point in time, you did that, and having done that, you can move on to other goals. Here's an example. The mission of the Boylston Public Library is to foster a lifelong love of learning through the provision of cultural, educational, and recreational resources. So that's a statement of what the library does that persists over time. In the strategic plan of 2017, they've used the tools we will look at later to determine that a goal they should pursue to achieve that mission is to provide a flexible and adaptable physical space that's accessible to all residents and adequately supports collections and services, something that apparently is either missing or not provisioned in their current environment. What makes a good goal? A set of criteria was published in 1981 by George T. Duran with the acronym SMART, standing for specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-dependent. And these have stood the test of time. People still use these today. These were further adapted and developed by management consultant Peter Drucker in his Management by Objective methodology, which eventually became the balanced scorecard, another tool still used today. And we'll take a look at that in the next unit. In this table, note that assignable is often presented as achievable, but that seems to duplicate realistic somewhat. And there are other presentations such as appropriate and relevant, depending on whose worksheet you're using. But I will say that working through a SMART Goals worksheet is a very common practice, and your assignment is to work through just that exercise. So where goals are destinations, objectives are the steps taken to reach them. If you recall my comments on the logic model in the last lecture, and think of goals as outcomes, then objectives are the inputs, actions, and outputs piece of the logic model. Read the second bullet in this slide as objectives are to goals as inputs, activities, and outputs are to outcomes. Now again, at the strategic level, these are still usually at a high, that is, organization level. There are tactical goals and objectives as well, and we'll differentiate these when we get to project management later in the semester. But for now, let's return to our example from the Boylston Library. Recall that their goal is to provide a flexible and adaptable physical space. Their objectives, the specific actions they will take to reach their goal, are to investigate options for a dedicated meeting room, add additional shelving for a DVD collection, and keep all public areas free of clutter. There are a couple of more that didn't fit on the slide, and you can look at all of the goals and objectives as this plan is linked in the module plan. One thing I think you'll see if you look at the whole plan is that the strategic plan document isn't necessarily a long thing. It's not complicated. This one is about 12 pages, including a signature page, a page from Wikipedia on the school history, and another page that's mostly blank. We'll talk about tools next time, but since I mentioned management by objectives in connection with SMART goals, I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of description. Implemented on a team level, MBO can be seen in many of the key techniques needed for effective team management, including team briefing, goal setting, performance appraisal, delegation, and feedback. Management by objectives provides team buy-in and feedback into goal and objective evaluation to help assure that objectives continue to align with strategic goals. Implementing the strategic plan should always be an iterative looping process of constant evaluation, continued evaluation, feedback, and alignment of objectives to strategic mission and goals. So that concludes our brief overview of goals and objectives, and your assignment will be to brainstorm some quick ideas for goals using a worksheet to assure they are SMART. Then, develop objectives for each that would lead to achievement of the goals. And keep in mind for the future that continuous alignment of objectives with mission and strategic goals is necessary to keep your strategic plan on track. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to reading your discussion and assignments. Be sure to read the assigned documentation on creating SMART goals and objectives before trying your hands at completing the assignment.